Well, class, we have a few minutes here. Talk about tithing. I was thinking about it, like what got me to start tithing? And honestly, it was a weird, like, it's not weird. Nothing really. I just really felt like God wanted me to tithe. And I was going to a church that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I just, at the time, I knew I should be going to church. And, oh, sorry, let me back up. When I first got saved, and then the pastor was preaching on tithe, I had no money. I had no income. Anytime I ever got money, I had to spend it on bills or food. There was not, maybe sometimes $5 extra is what I would have at the time, which is right. Hey, what are you going to be about it? A nickel? That just seems ridiculous. At the time, right, I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything to give. I knew that I could give some of my time. So, out of the blue, one of the, I don't know if he was a deacon, some guy in the church that worked in the church, called me, hey, can you come help? We gotta do some work. We gotta do some moving stuff around. They had this giant property. Sure, no problem. I'll go do that. And then I knew I was broke, so I knew if they took me, typically they would give me some kind of food. So that was my win-win there, because I could do, right? I could serve and help with God, but then I get some food, something, because we were so broke. My sweet treat at that time was we had pancake mix with just that water, and I had a little bit of butter, and sometimes I'd have some jam, and I would make some pancakes and eat those, and that was so good. I was like, why didn't I think of this before? And then as soon as I get some money, I realized, because you could buy way better food than that when you have some money. Yes, it's crazy how that works. Giving my time though ended up letting me go on. They had like a life coach retreat. New Horizons was the group, and they went to San Francisco for like 2 days and a night or something like that, and it was cool. Like I got to go with a bunch of kids about the same age and get to know them a little bit. Realized that we were like completely different people from completely different backgrounds. None of them had any idea what I lived in, like the partying, the crazy of 18 to 25-year-olds that was in the range. Everybody lived in apartments that I lived in were all that was age. There was no old people there. Down the street, everywhere was just all people that were young. So it was a different world to then go to these people where they all had both parents and all this stuff. It was like, oh, what are you guys up to here? Anyways, so I learned that early on, giving something, right? If I had nothing, I had something to give, and that would be my time. And then God put on my heart when I was going to my dad's church at the time, Shiloh Baptist Church. It's a Black Baptist church that, if you go there, the pastor will maybe say a verse, but more than likely will pull some quote out of the latest, greatest something, or GQ magazine says something about men, and then he'll just go off on a whole rant about something about men and throw God in there and whatnot. That's how a lot of churches seem to be that I've seen, especially in that demographic. But anyways, so I didn't feel like that church, I knew this then, right, that wasn't the right message, but at the time, God was really dealing with my heart. I was getting paid, I had a job, and I was just saving my money. I wasn't really spending, I wasn't doing anything with it. And I was like, I need to give. So I went back, since I had the job, did the calculations of 10% and put that in. I felt like I was doing something at the time, right? Like, man, I put in like $1,000 or something. That felt like a ton of money. This is when we're also talking about like 04. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but that's what I mean. It was a lot then, it is now. But nothing ever happened from that. Like, I really thought that how this works is, right, I give 1,000, and then like a check comes in the mail, somebody called, right, job, something comes in, something about the same, and it didn't work that way. Through the different jobs, giving here and there, I realized that I have to give it on faith and believe that it's not going to come tomorrow and the next day, right? I have to believe that God's going to actually take care of me. So that's my little spiel on me and why I started giving, and why I wasn't part of a blessing, but I just felt like I should tell you that. In all the church, the first verse that anyone ever, that I remember anyone talking about was Malachi. So let's just turn to Malachi real quick. Malachi 3, chapter 3. And I'm going to read the first 14 verses to kind of give you, well, no, I'll just go straight to it. Let's go to verse 8. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Right? So God's saying, you've robbed me in tithes and offerings. Well, he's talking to Israel specifically here, and he's talking to them about years and years and years of them just not paying their portion in tithes and offerings. Right? That's not necessarily to us, but it is a principle for us to learn that if we don't give in anything, then how are we ever going to expect to get anything in return? God, that's not how God ever works. If you're going to receive in prayer, you have to spend some time in prayer to even get an answer in prayer, right? That's just how that works. And the more you pray, the more chance of getting an answer that, not necessarily that you're more favorable, but understanding the answer, definitely for sure. I've been praying for things for months and I haven't received them. And then other things I've been praying for like a week and then it comes. And that's similar with giving. Money comes and goes. You guys may not have realized this quite yet because you haven't gone through so much of life, but man, I was about 26, 27. I think we had just been married, Sean and I. Remember, I had times of just no food, like no food in the cupboards. I would order pizza. Back in the day, before I got saved, I would order pizza and write a bad check, knowingly that I didn't have any money there, because that would give me. Domino's would not ever ask me. They charge Bank of America. Bank of America would just whatever and cover it and make good. Little Caesars, on the other hand, was a privately owned place, and the guy would come to your house and be like, "Where's my money? Where's your check balance?" It's a $20 check balance. Yeah, it check balance. It bounced, so you need to pay me. Dude, I ain't got no money. That's the whole point of me writing the check. If a man used to write a check, that's what it meant. He didn't have any money. If a woman wrote a check, right, you knew she had some calculations and she would be fast. Back in the day, writing checks was a man. What was it? And he didn't know what to do. We would never know what to do. But my mom, she was the most efficient check writer ever. Here, what? How did you do that? Anyways. So Sean and I, sorry, God, when we first got married, she was worried about money, and I looked in the cupboard. There was so much food. Fridge is full. Her parents are like, a phone call away, just down the street. My mom's not that far. Like, we're good. Trust me, we are not in a desperate situation. But she felt like, because she had never lived like that. Yeah. So sometimes we feel like we don't have as much, but if we stopped and we actually looked, like God says that He will take care of us, right? Take care of our needs. We don't have to worry about clothes, raiment, and all that stuff. Well, we don't. But then if we try to keep up with the world, then we're never going to keep up, right? We're always going to feel like we're behind. We don't have the things that other people have. Well, their car's a little nicer. I used to play that game with friends. Oh, I had a nicer car than him, so I'm good. Okay, I'm better, right? Like I would measure myself based on what I had compared to what other people had, which was a tough place for me to be because my parents, they didn't have money to spend on anything. When we would get like new basketball shoes, my dad would make sure I got new ones, but I never got like the cool new ones. We were never spending $100 on basketball shoes. It was more like 30. Like that was realistically where we were, which was, I mean, I was happy, but I couldn't go clown anybody else on the court and be like, yeah, check these out. That wasn't going to happen in my world. But God took care of me. God definitely took care of me. So, like I said with Malachi, right? He's talking to Israel. He's not necessarily specifically talking to the church. Let's look at Luke 20 and verse 25. You know, it's the way things work when you write them down, and then the way they work when you start to talk. Okay, so verse 25 says, "And he said unto them," we're talking about Jesus, "Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things which are God's." That is Jesus telling everybody in the church, pay your taxes and tithe, right? Give to God what is God. God has already put in the beginning. We'll turn here in Genesis where the tithe is actually first mentioned, and it's before the law. So it's not necessarily a law thing that we got to follow. It's really for our benefit. That's what it is. It's a principle that God has put in place that allows us to benefit from it. The problem is it takes faith. You have to step out in faith. You got when your check comes, right? The hard thing is paying those things. You got to pay it first because you want to just go do the thing you want to do because I got money, right? So let's pay the bills. I don't really got no much to tithe. You got to tithe before all that, and then have faith that God will provide the rest of it if you don't have enough, or if you don't have enough to cover your other needs, that God will provide. I challenge you to try to trust Him. See what happens. See how God will answer your prayers and your financial burdens in ways that you would have never thought if you just stepped out of faith. The problem is we can only see what we can see, right? I can call my mom, my dad. I got a couple friends. Maybe I could call if I was desperate for money. That's not a lot of money, right? That's not a lot of options. And I already can figure out what they're going to say. And I got to come up with some story, right? And I got to figure out some way to make this so they're going to want to give me money. That's not a way to live. That's not living with faith. But that's how we like to live. That's how I lived for a very long time. Until there was no more options to do those things. Everything had been spent. Every resource has been used. And I don't have any other way to make any more money. I was dead. I had to trust God. Don't get to that spot where you feel like the only option now is to trust God. Like that's the worst. It's not the worst thing, but you know what I mean? You don't want to be put in there that way. Trust Him first before you get there. Because it's just not very fun to stress all day long about money, right? And there's just nothing you can do half the time. We can only work, we get paid these days, and then when we need money in between, what do? And that's tough. Like there's different things you can do, but it doesn't always work. Fast money and easy money isn't always the best money. Because money will come and money will go. And as soon as you think you have some and you're set, it just disappears out of your pocket and you're like, what in the world just happened? I was sitting so pretty like a week ago, and now I'm beyond desperate. And then 2 weeks later, you're back on top. It's just, that's the way life and money works that I've seen. We won't turn to Genesis because we're going to run out of time, and I don't want to hold you guys up from church. But I think next week we'll turn there. We'll go to that story. It's a pretty interesting story in itself. There's a ton there, but what I want to get to you guys is just if you are not currently tithing, then start, right? And if you are tithing, then maybe try to step out in faith a little bit more. Missions conference coming up. It's a great opportunity to give more in those areas, or your time. Maybe you can't give any more money. Like, I'm pretty strapped, and I am giving, and God's taking care of me, and I'm doing okay. Maybe some more time, right? I don't know what it is, but I know that is the return on investment. That's the most value you'll ever get in life is giving the things that you have to God. You'll never get another return the same way than if you do it that way. If you trust on people or things or a job that you love, or that those will never last, those will never fulfill the way that God through Christ is. Thank you guys. Let's pray and I'll let you go. Lord, thank you for this time. Thank you for this message. You stirred my heart in it, and I hope that well. Help everyone in the next service to get something from the Names of God series, and then help everyone